Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. All right, you guys, welcome back to Livfiit Listens. Welcome to the third ever episode. Super stoked to be here, as always. I feel like the more that I do this, the more I get excited, the more excited I get every time. But damn, I will say I was on the struggle bus trying to set everything up today. I don't know why I was having so many technical difficulties, but here we are. We made it. The lighting I'm struggling with it a little bit if you're watching me on YouTube, because we have some overcast action. So the sun's peeping in and out of clouds. It's dark, but then now it's just deciding to be bright. So the lighting's going to be interesting on this web series. Also, another relevant detail, but my hair is up right now if you're listening to me, and I only have my little framing pieces out, but I need to get a haircut so badly. My framing pieces are literally past my collarbone. This is longer than a bob. So thankfully I'm getting a haircut today. So everyone, don't worry, but geez, it's rough out here. But okay, so welcome back. Warm welcome. I feel sporadic right now for whatever reason, but welcome. So let's start off with, of course, I honestly, don't kill me, but I have two things that I'm grateful for. Honestly, is anyone surprised? I'm always in my YouTube videos, I'm okay, let's do 5 things of gratitude and 5 things of affirmation. And I'll list 5 things as my one bullet point of gratitude. But regardless, I just really am resonating with 2 things today. So above anything, I hope me sharing what I'm grateful for today will help you think about what you're grateful for today, what you're really resonating with. So the first thing that I feel super grateful for is inner peace. I was journaling about this morning. I felt a little bit funk sauce, a little funky when I woke up today. And this is honestly something I've realized. I guess I've realized the reason why more clearly as I've gotten older and have had time to reflect on my childhood, heal from my childhood, and create space for me to come into the person that I want to be, away from my family. Essentially, what I'm grateful for is inner peace. And I really do love being alone and feeling at peace. And it's something that's so special to me, and I'm so thankful for it. It just really speaks volumes to me. And I've realized that it's really is because of, not to get deep, but we're all about rawness and being real. Growing up, my family was definitely more toxic than your average Joe family. So I think that growing up, since becoming older, I've realized that is really why I love being alone so much, and that feeling of peace, because growing up, that was my safe space was when I was alone, because being with my family always made me feel really chaotic, a lot of anxiety, turmoil, that sort of thing. So I don't know why I feel the need to go off on that side rail, but maybe some of you guys can relate to that whole upbringing situation. So I just really feel eternally grateful for inner peace above anything, and having that safe space within myself to think my own thoughts, to feel what I want to feel, and just have that peace and quiet within myself. And the second thing that I felt super grateful for this morning, I actually was doing a guided throat chakra meditation, because like I said, I kind of woke up feeling a little bit weird, and I just felt like that throat chakra meditation would help me show up well for you guys today. And it really hit me, because I actually always overlook this, and I don't know how I haven't thought about this, but I'm so thankful for my voice. I'm so thankful for my ability to speak. Having that ability to express yourself, that is so freeing. The freedom of self-expression. I don't know, it hit me this morning when I was journaling. I was writing down what I was grateful for, and I was wait, what? I have no clue how I kept overlooking that, but I thought if I didn't have the ability to express myself through word, I don't even imagine how restricted you'd feel. So Anyway, I know there's other variations to speak, but I just mean like having my actual voice and being able to express myself. I'm saying I know there's other ways to communicate, excuse me, but just still having the privilege of like having a voice to be able to speak and be heard is like absolutely incredible to me. I don't know how I didn't like think about that more thoroughly previously. So diving into today's episode, this one is all about, honestly, the first big lesson, honestly, that I learned by myself on my own, like as I started to go through my own hardships in life. And this was something like I was 17 when I first, like the light bulb moment hit me about this concept. And honestly, since then, like I think about it like constantly. I bring it with me every day, and it has completely transformed my life and how I handle adversity and how I look, at hardship and things like that. So today we're going to be talking all about the beauty, the power, the freedom of acceptance. And I think it sounds so simple, right? It's just a word, but it honestly holds so much meaning and power. And like I said, freedom behind it, because it sets you free from so much like inner tension. And I think we just constantly always try to resist things in life that we don't agree with or things that we don't want in that moment, when in the grand scheme, it may be just exactly what we need on this, human nature of evolution and growth. A lot of times when we do this, right, when we have resistance, when we have like this resentment towards what's going on, when we play victim or any of that stuff, like it genuinely does nothing except for put up a wall between what's going on, and it only delays the healing and finding the solution to be able to move forward. Like that's how I see it now. Like when I find myself not accepting a situation and I'm still feeling like so upset and questioning why it's happening and all this sort of stuff, like it genuinely does nothing to help the situation. It only delays you from moving forward, and it only keeps you stuck in that same situation, because you give life to what you give energy to. So if you're constantly in this resistance energy, or you're just feeling a lot of resentment to a situation, that is just pent up conflicting energy, and you're feeding that. You're just marinating that. You're sitting in that. You're marinating in this problem that you have, instead of accepting it and then moving through it and being able to move forward. So I picture like acceptance as like the key to get you out of the handcuffs, to like free you from the jail cell and allow you to actually move forward. That's how I picture like when you're in this state of like resistance and all that stuff and like pent up resentful energy. It's like I just picture myself in shackles, where like once I accept a situation, I picture myself just like leaning into it and surrendering to what is, to then be able to move forward, like I said. And the thing is with like surrendering, I feel like so many people think that surrendering means you just like lay back and do absolutely nothing and just like fall completely victim to whatever is happening, or like submit to the situation, when that's truly could not be more incorrect. Like surrendering is not doing nothing. It's about just ridding yourself of all the resistance to what the situation is, accepting what is, to then create the space to find clarity, to move forward and come to a solution. Like that's what surrendering is. And in order to surrender, you need to accept the present moment and what you're currently in. Again, I don't know how to, like, I can't amplify this enough, but like, I just don't understand. My always thing, it's like, there's situations where you just can't do anything about it. And it's like, what else is there left to do other than accept the situation? Like that's just how I feel sometimes. Like I'm like, there's genuinely no other logical next step, unless you want to just sit here in your lower vibrational frequency and play victim. But it's like, what else is there left to do that has some sort of positive effect or help gaining momentum, other than just simply accepting what is? That's what my grandma always used to say. She would always say, well, what else are you going to do, hun? Like she would always just say that. And it wasn't even like anything profound. She just would always say that if like someone was complaining about something or like upset, she just always would say like, well, what else are you going to do, hun? And like, again, she didn't even mean it in a profound way, but I always hear that in my head when it's kind of like, what else is there left to do other than be positive, put one foot in front of the other, accept what is, and do your best to find the solution to move forward. Now, I'm going to give you a few examples of when I put this into effect, if you will, or like examples of how I guess I've gone about this. First example, which I feel weird that I keep referring to my first high school boyfriend, like I promise I'm over it. But the reason I bring it up is just because, like I said, that was my first like hardship that I had to work through on my own without, like family or like going through like a group struggle. Like this was a struggle that only I was dealing with because I was the only one in the position, my same exact situation. So I'm just saying I learned a ton and grew. That was like my first spurt of growth emotionally and mentally. So I find myself even now taking with me lessons from that point in time. So my first boyfriend, I was 17 years old, senior in high school. We had been dating for a year. This was now my senior year when we broke up. He had cheated on me, whole 9 yards, whole situation. At that point in time, you have to remember, first love. He was my first kiss. He was like first everything. And I'm like a hopeless romantic. I still am. I'm very emotional. Everyone always asks my zodiac sign. I'm a Cancer. Okay, just to put that out there, because everyone and their brother always asks me. I am a water sign. I'm a Cancer. My rising and moon sign are both Sagittarius, which I feel like that combo really does fit me. But regardless, circling back. So I was very innocent. I feel like I'm like naive and innocent now still, but like then I was like, what is betrayal? What is hardship? What is deceit? Like I had no clue. So when I found out that my boyfriend had cheated on me, when again, your first love is like your first love, like I thought I was going to like die for that boy. I was like, couldn't fathom. I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that someone who I had loved so much and so, I don't even know what the word is. So like it was only him. He was the only person I saw. Like only one, just only one in my eyes, in my head, in my radar. And to think that he was like with other girls, thinking about other girls, that whole thing like that like blew my mind and was so challenging for me to wrap my head around. Someone just straight up lying, going behind your back, deceit, betrayal. I just was like, what? Like who I didn't even know it was like humanly possible. That's how off my rocker was by it. And that was like my first, I remember, like I still remember the day that I found out, or I don't think maybe it wasn't the actual day, but I still remember like that was the first time where I just couldn't, I was so sad, I couldn't even go to sleep. Like it's one thing, like of course, like I was so beside myself, I couldn't eat anything. But I remember like one night, like I literally just, I couldn't eat. I remember I was crying and crying and crying. I feel like this is a sadder episode. I promise it's turning around. And I remember like that I was watching the sun come up and I was still just crying. Like I was so sad. I couldn't even go to sleep. Like I had never been that mentally disturbed in my life. I know that was like very long-winded and like very detailed and like kind of heavy, but I just say that because that's how like far away I was from understanding and from accepting the situation that I was in at that point. Like I was so disconnected from trying to understand it, to accept it, to digest it. I just was like, I couldn't even wrap my head around it. It was the hardest thing for me to make sense of and decipher in my 17-year-old head. And that was something that really hit me, where it got to the point where just every day, because when, of course, your first boyfriend, you get cheated on, you're like, please say it ain't so. That's what my friend Joanne always says, say it ain't so. Like you just want someone to tell you you're lying. Like they're lying. Like I remember waking up in the mornings and I just would like, when I tell you it was my first thought, like it was my first thought. Like I remember waking up and just being like, we'll call him Adam. His name's not Adam, but I like that name. I remember waking up and always saying like, Adam cheated on me. Adam cheated on me. Like I would say it in the morning because I just like couldn't believe the reality I was in. And I thought that it was just like a dream. I was living in a nightmare. It just really hit me at a point in time where I was like, he can't take back his actions no matter how much he apologizes. She can't take back his actions or her actions no matter how much they apologize or whatever they say. My dad can't take it away. My friends can't take it away. I can't take it away. No matter how badly we want to change the situation or what is, we can't. Like what's done is done. And as heartbreaking as that was for me to accept, even now I'm like I always, when I talk about this stuff, I just think about how low I was at that point in time and how much I grew. But like, sorry guys, I wasn't expecting this, but I just remember like how heartbreaking that was of a concept for me to accept that, like, because when you're growing up, you're always like, oh, my dad could fix this, or, you know, like you always, like, I feel like there's always someone that comes in to save the day and makes it all better. And like, that was the first time in my life where I was like, no one's coming. Like, no one can change this for me. No one can take something back. Like, this is the reality, and what's done is done. And no one can change that. You know, no matter how badly I want to, like, no matter who I asked. And just the only thing left to do when I was like so helpless and so like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, Liv, the only thing left to do at this point is to accept what happened, because you have genuinely no other option. If you want some sake of peace and contentment and healing going forward, you gotta accept what happened and you gotta move forward. Because like I said, it's not changing. So that was honestly the very first time where I understood, where it was like, at the end of the day, you want to change things you can't control. You want to fix what happened. You want to go back and change an action, and you just can't. And you just got to accept it and move forward. So that was the first time where I just kept telling myself acceptance, 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 acceptance. When I would find myself thinking about it, it was honestly a mantra, but I just didn't even know it at the time. I just tell myself acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. And so that's just one example of how powerful the notion of acceptance is, and how, like, when you feel the most helpless, like, that's the one thing that's, to me, it's kind of like the extending hand for you to grab onto when you're feeling so helpless in a situation and you want to change it and all this stuff. Like, you got to reach for that hand, and you just got to accept it, and you got to keep turning the wheels. Like, that's just all that's left to do. And another example that I'm thinking of that was recent, that isn't as heavy, but like when I broke my wrist, right? And so many people were like, what are you going to do? How are you going to cope with this? Like, what are you going to do with, you know, losing progress? What are you going to do, like, in the gym? And it kind of, like, ever since the moment it happened and I realized, like, that was the first thing I said after I fell. I just grabbed my wrist and said, I think I broke my wrist. I didn't burst out in tears. I wasn't upset. I wasn't angry. Like, in that moment, again, this was me, 5 years after me first learning this lesson when I was 17, when my boyfriend cheated on me. So I've had so much time to grow and genuinely put this into practice and live it and embody it and act on it. But so that was just another example, like when I fell, and as soon as I realized, like, my wrist was not normal, whether I broke it or sprained it or whatever, like, I'm going to be out for a minute. It was very apparent to me. And I just knew, like, what else, just like I said previously, what else was there left for me to do other than just simply accept the situation? If I were to feel angry, if I were to feel worry about, you know, losing progress or how I'm going to move forward, or worry about the surgery, or, you know, get anxiety about not being able to do XYZ, like, how would that help me? How? And like, that's all going into the victim mindset. Like, for sure, you can go sit in that if you want to, but just know you're accepting a lower level of frequency, and you're the one shooting yourself in the foot, and you're the one that's not allowing yourself to move forward. And I know, like, again, might be a little bit harsh, but sometimes this is Coach Livfiit coming out, but still, it's like, you need to have that, like, inner warrior in you, like that inner fighter in you, where it's like, I'm fighting for me, for my quality of life. And like, I think that comes from that whole victim space. Like, again, sure, you could have resistance to the situation. You know, I could have been like, this sucks. I can't believe I'm going to be out of the gym. What am I going to do? How am I going to continue with Livfiit? Like, my job is to work out XYZ. And that would be me, like, falling victim and not fighting for myself and fighting for me to keep pushing forward in life. That's how I see it. So me, like, just accepting the situation. Again, like I said, what else was there left for me to do? If I wanted to move forward and keep fighting for what I wanted out of life and how I wanted to approach life and just be a strong individual, I needed to accept what happened, fall at peace to it, surrender, and let myself create the space to find clarity, to find the solution, to find the calm headspace, to move forward and understand I'm going to get through it. And the thing with surrendering and accepting a situation is just the same thing, like the same concept as, like, you need to swallow a pill if you want to feel the effects and the benefits, right? Like, in order to feel the effects of that medicine, of that pill, you gotta swallow it. It's like the same, like, metaphorically, you got to accept it, and then you're going to feel those benefits to be able to move forward. Where if you were like, you know, I'm so sick, but I don't want to take medicine or whatever, I'm not being an advocate for medicine, I'm just using this as a, you know, example or metaphor, but it's like the same thing. Like, if you wanted to, you know, you could either be sitting in your sickness and say, like, I'm just going to play victim and complain about how everything's hurting, but I'm not going to do anything to fix it or even just accept the situation. I'm just going to be marinating in my resistance to feeling sick. It's like once you accept that pill, once you swallow the pill, that medicine, once you accept the situation you're in, then you can feel those benefits that the medicine would be giving you to move forward, to be healthier, to heal, etc. It's the same exact freaking concept. And another thing that helps me with truly fully accepting a situation is this concept that I'm about to explain, and it may throw some people for a loop because they're going to be like, like, no, I'm pretty sure that, if I were to get a flat tire, that would suck. But it honestly is it's very thought-provoking if you hear me out. So genuinely nothing is either good or bad. Like, it just is. That's the only truth. The only reason why something is technically either good or bad is because we're the ones, based on our subconscious beliefs and opinions, that categorize these events, these things, these occurrences as either good or bad. But the kicker is that I just combined both of those. The catch or the kicker is that from different perspectives, the same exact instance can be good and bad simultaneously, just from looking at it from different perspectives, from different lenses, with different opinions and subconscious beliefs. So, like, for example, back to that flat tire situation, someone who is like in a rush, who is trying to go catch a flight, who gets a flat tire could be like, wow, this absolutely sucks right now. Like, that was a bad situation. Someone who was, this is an awful example, but someone who was kidnapped, don't know why this is getting into my head, but someone who's kidnapped gets a flat tire, that would be their freaking saving grace, right? Because it would stop the person from escaping with them. Whatever the case may be, that was kind of a bad example, but like, get what I'm trying to say. In certain instances, things are good, but in another instance, it's technically bad because everything is subjective, right? So it's kind of like when we feel down about a situation or feel like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Like, I'm just sitting in my resistance to the situation that's going on. You're like, how can I accept this? Like, I don't want to do X, Y, Z. Like, this just sucks and there's nothing good that someone could say about it. That's just what I always think about. I'm like, actually, everything is neutral. Events are neutral. People are neutral. Occurrences are neutral. I'm the one giving life and labeling something as good or bad. And once I kind of realized that, like, it gave me so much more power to see how I want to approach a situation and look at a situation, and helped me, embody and put into effect that acceptance, because I knew that nothing could ever be like truly actually bad. And it gave me the leverage and the freedom and the insight to be able to look at that situation I was experiencing from so many different perspectives and see both the favorable aspects of that situation and the not so favorable aspects in that situation. But I will say, and what I can promise you, is that every single solitary thing is happening for your highest good. May not be something that's presently like enjoyable in this moment, but I can promise you it is for your highest good in the long term, over the long haul, throughout your evolution as a human being. That's the thing, like circling back to what I said previously, where it's like we constantly resist things that we feel like we don't always want in the moment, but sometimes they're exactly what we need. That's exactly what I mean. Something that may be hard now, may be unfavorable now, may seem like a struggle now, is all for your growth as an individual, and it is going to help you expand and evolve as a human right now, and also help you become prepared and level up as an individual to take on another experience in the future that you may deem as favorable then. But above all, it's always something to teach you something, to give you a lesson, to help you in the future level up as a human, to be ready for a different circumstance that's coming into your life. Like, everything is seamlessly happening, and sometimes it takes you like zooming out your perspective and know that it may not be that you want this occurrence right now, but it's setting you up for something else to come in with this newfound knowledge that you've gained from this experience, and you're experiencing it for the purpose of your higher good. And I also always think that if I'm like in a crappy situation, like for example, when I broke my wrist, I always think like, maybe I'm going through this right now, maybe not for anything directly for me to benefit from. I'm just saying, even at the bare minimum, if even I'm not taking anything away from the situation, what if maybe, just maybe, like in the the Dr. Seuss The Grinch Before Christmas, maybe, just maybe, I don't know why, but that's from the movie. Anyway, that I am going through this simply just for the fact to be of relation to someone else in the future and help them with the experience that I went through. Like, at the very least, if you're going through a crappy situation, you're like, I can't think of a single lesson right now. This just freaking sucks. Well, you know what? you might be going through that, and the takeaway from the situation is for you to now be in a more evolved standpoint to be of relation to someone else that you encounter in the future who needs someone there for them, who needs empathy and sympathy to help them get through a situation, because they may not be as strong or as evolved in you emotionally to take on what you're going through now alone. And they may need someone to lean on, someone to talk to bring them comfort, someone to understand what they're going through, someone to be in their shoes. And you may be that person from them. So I always think about that. Like when I'm in a crappy situation, I'm like, well, you know what? At the very least, maybe I'm going through this so that I can be of relation to someone in the future and give them a shoulder to lean on and someone to relate to it as an escape. So just everything is working for a bigger picture that we may not always be aware of in our, finite human perspective on this small scale, but at the very least, we can hold space for it. So conclusively, above anything with this episode, I just want you guys to take with you the concept of letting yourself just fall to surrender and be at peace with the situations that you're in. And then if you're really the first step that one can take to get out of a hard situation or a place that they don't want to be in is to firstly simply just accept that you're in that situation. Once you do that, you open up so much space to move forward, to have the clarity to move forward, to find a solution, to get rid of that inner resistance, those nerves, that anxiety that only builds up more tension and resistance to what is and only clouds your rationale and how you show up energetically to find a solution. But I'm telling you, once you surrender, sit back and accept the situation that you're in, the action plan to find a solution is going to come to you so much easier because you'll be more so in a flow state. You'll be more centered. You'll be more grounded. Those resistant-based emotions of fear, anxiety, worry, all of those are simply just blockers. They don't facilitate. They're not a catalyst. They don't help anything. They're just blockers. So once you accept, you pull the plug from those blockers, you sweep the runway away from all of those blockers, all of those obstacles, and you just find clarity in the path forward. And you're able to approach it from a more loving heart space, from a more peaceful heart space, from a more balanced, grounded heart space. And that's where all good things lie. The affirmation that I want to leave you guys with for you guys to step into this week and remind you guys of, and I want you guys, again, say these affirmations out loud, say them in a mirror. They're so empowering. So when you find yourself a little bit tight this coming week, okay, you're a little bit tense, tell yourself, I rid myself of resistance and accept what is. I rid myself of resistance and accept what is. I love you guys so much. I hope you were able to take away something from this episode. Thank you for giving me the ear to talk to about all of these things. I feel so heard on this platform and I absolutely love it. So I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you, of course, for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.